Hey everybody, it's John McBride here, technology evangelist at Citrix. What I want to do is throw together a quick little video and show you guys how to create a Octoblu workflow with a trigger in it, and then call that workflow, initiate that workflow from a .NET application. So some of this we can do via the Citrix developer extension, which we can post the link here in the video for you to download that. But this is more of just a live coding session, so we'll kind of show you, or get our hands dirty, show you how to do it from within the code and how to build the workflow. So with that, we'll jump over to Octoblu and actually create the workflow first. So here we're at octoblu.com. Go ahead and check it out. You can get it's free. You can sign up for a free account and start playing around with workflows. So here we'll actually click on the create a workflow button up here. It'll create us a flow. We can rename it. We'll call this coding session trigger. Okay. And it's going to be a really simple workflow just to show you the concept. The first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to scroll down here and look for a trigger under the tools menu. And we want a trigger here. So that's the first node we're going to add. And then we're going to add a debug node so we can actually see what's going on. And that is right here. So we'll add a debug node and a trigger. And we'll link those two together. So this is a really simple workflow that's going to show you the concept of how to make this call, right? So we'll actually start the workflow up here. Let that start up. And while that's doing that, we'll actually we'll click on the trigger here, and we're going to look at a couple properties. Each workflow that has a trigger in it can be executed two ways, or three ways. You can actually click on the play button here. We'll execute the workflow in the designer, or if you scroll down over here, you can see we have two links. One is an email link, so you can actually send an email to this address. That will start the initiation of the workflow. And the other one, which is the one we're concerned about, is we can actually send an HTTP post to this address. This is what we're actually going to be doing today. So we want to make sure we note this trigger address. So we'll actually just go ahead and copy this link. So we'll copy the link location here. And then for the debug node, we'll actually kind of just watch this debug location here and show you the output that happens. So that's the workflow. Okay, nothing really major there. But then what we do is we'll jump back over to Visual Studio, and we're going to use we're just going to create a blank project here. It's going to be a Windows Forms project. Just create a Windows Form project. We're going to call it coding session trigger. You can stick with a default name if you want to. And while that loads up, some of this is enabled by using the Citrix developer extension. Some code snippets with that extension. So we'll add a button here really quick. And then we'll double click on it and go into the event. Okay, so now we want to write some code. So with the developer extension, we actually have these code snippets. If you just start typing in Octoblu, you'll see these few code snippets we have that are specific to Octoblu. So the one that we're actually going to use is this one, Octoblu post to workflow here. And we'll just tab, and you can see that we actually put in kind of boilerplate code that you need to actually make the call. Now, one thing we're going to need here is we need to add the Microsoft.net.http NuGet class. This uses a standard Microsoft.net HTTP library. So we'll go ahead and do that. We'll right-click on references, say Manage NuGet, and we will search for HTTP, and then do an install here. And this is going to install the needed references that we have to have. And then in the code here, we'll just do a control dot. So we'll add the namespace into the project. Okay, so we're almost ready to go. But since we're using the await keyword, uses async await, we need to decorate our method here with the async keyword. Okay. So you can see here it's asking a couple of things we need to fill out. One is the workflow endpoint URL. That's that trigger address that we showed you over here. That's this address, the post address that we need to use. So we copied that. So we'll just go ahead and paste that in here. That's a pretty long URL. So we'll do that. And then you can actually send JSON data into the trigger itself if you want to, and it would just be in the form of a JSON string with key value pairs. We're just going to put some dummy data in here so that we can see it come through the request. So our key is going to be test data, and our value is going to be okay. So we have our workflow endpoint, our body JSON, so that's what we're going to send across. And then here, we're actually just spinning up the request. So we're creating a new HTTP client. We're actually setting the body content. We're creating a string content, and then we're passing in the body JSON that we have defined, and we're actually saying UTF encoding, and then it's actually going to be application JSON data that we're sending to the request. And then the next here is actually the next here is we're actually posting async. We're going to do the post to the workflow endpoint with that body content, right? And then we're just checking the code here to make sure it was created. When you post to Octoblu trigger, when you get a 201, it means that the post was successful. So then we can just write out some information here, console.write line, and we'll just say post was post. Okay. So I think that all looks good. So we can try to run it and then monitor the Octoblu Workflow to see what happens. So with that, let's jump over here. We'll run into debug. Click on the debug tab and the debug window, and we'll run it and show you what happens. All right, so here we have our form, and our workflow showed up. So we'll hit button 1 with the click event. You see we can actually we executed the workflow, and you can see over here that we get our debug information from the debug node. It tells us what the node GUID was, the name, which is debug, and then here is the message information that was passed. Specifically, you want to look at the params, right? So in the params field, we have test data. If you remember, that's our key that we passed from here, test data. And then here's the value. This is some data from the post method, right? So that's a basic kind of tutorial on how you can use our extension to post to Octoblu Workflow. This is a really simple example of how you do it, but the base is there. So just wanted to kind of go through that a little bit and show you how to do that, how to post information to a trigger, so you can start embedding workflows into your own applications and kicking them off from your own application. So with that, like I said, just a real quick live coding session. We're probably going to do more of these, so we'd like your feedback on it. So with that, we appreciate it, and thanks. Hope to hear from you guys soon.